Jake Martinez wiped the sweat from his hands as he looked out the window of the UES Discovery. The blue and green planet below them looked beautiful but strange. 3 moons hung in the purple sky like jewels. This was Zephyr Prime, home to one of the most powerful alien races in the galaxy. Jake had never imagined he would be here when he started working as a junior scientist 2 years ago. Captain Lisa Brooks walked into the observation deck where Jake stood. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and kind eyes. Jake had always respected her calm way of handling difficult situations. Today she looked nervous, though, which made Jake feel even more worried about their mission. "Ready for this, Jake?" she asked, putting a hand on his shoulder. "First contact with a new species is never easy. The Zephyrians have been watching us for months. They finally agreed to meet us on their home planet. That means they want something from us, or they have something important to tell us." Jake nodded and picked up his data pad. As the ship's xenobiologist, his job was to study alien life forms and help the crew understand different species. He had read everything about the Zephyrians that Earth's scientists had gathered. They were tall reptilian beings with 4 arms and scales that changed color with their emotions. They had ruled this part of space for thousands of years and were known to be proud and traditional. The Discovery's engines hummed as they entered the planet's atmosphere. Jake watched through the window as they flew over vast cities made of crystal towers that reached up into the clouds. The buildings seemed to grow from the ground like plants, twisting and turning in beautiful patterns. Rivers of bright blue water flowed between the structures, and flying vehicles moved through the air like schools of fish. Commander Ryan Bell joined them at the window. He was the mission's military advisor, a serious man who always seemed ready for trouble. "Remember, everyone, we are guests here. The Zephyrians could destroy our ship with one shot if they wanted to. We follow their rules, and we stay polite no matter what happens." Dr. Helen Park, their archaeologist, was already studying images of the landing site on her tablet. She was excited about this mission because the Zephyrians were one of the oldest civilizations they had ever encountered. "Look at these structures," she said, showing them pictures of the royal palace. "Some of these buildings are over 10,000 years old. The craftsmanship is incredible." The ship landed smoothly on a platform made of smooth white stone. Jake could see Zephyrian guards waiting for them. They wore armor that looked like it was made from the same crystal as their buildings, and they carried weapons that glowed with soft blue light. The guards were at least 7 feet tall, with long tails that swished behind them as they moved. Captain Brooks led the small group down the ship's ramp. Jake followed close behind, carrying his equipment and trying not to stare at everything around him. The air smelled like flowers and ozone, and he could hear strange music coming from somewhere in the distance. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, making each step feel like a small bounce. A Zephyrian official greeted them at the bottom of the ramp. His scales were deep purple with gold edges, and his 4 arms moved gracefully as he spoke. The universal translator device on Jake's belt turned his words into English. "Welcome to Zephyr Prime, humans from Earth. I am High Counselor Zekmar. Our queen waits to meet you in the great throne room. Please follow me and do not touch anything, unless invited to do so." They walked through corridors filled with art and strange plants that seemed to glow with their own light. Jake noticed that some of the Zephyrian guards were staring at him more than the others in his group. Their eyes would widen, and their scales would shift to brighter colors when they looked his way. He wondered if there was something wrong with his appearance or if he had broken some rule he didn't know about. The throne room was enormous, with a ceiling so high that Jake couldn't see the top. Hundreds of Zephyrians stood along the walls, all wearing elaborate robes and jewelry. At the far end of the room sat a throne made from what looked like living coral that pulsed with soft pink light. On the throne sat the most impressive being Jake had ever seen. Queen Vexithera was massive, even by Zephyrian standards. Her scales were silver and gold, and they reflected the light like a mirror. 4 jeweled crowns sat on her long head, and golden rings decorated all 4 of her arms. Her eyes were bright yellow like small suns, and when she looked at the human delegation, Jake felt like she could see right through him. Captain Brooks stepped forward and began the formal greeting that had been planned for months. "Your Majesty, we come in peace from the planet Earth. We hope to build friendship between our peoples and learn from your great wisdom." Queen Vexithera nodded regally and started to respond, but then her golden eyes fell directly on Jake. The moment she saw him, everything changed. Her eyes went wide, and her scales suddenly shifted to brilliant white. She stood up from her throne so quickly that her crowns almost fell off her head. Then something happened that no one had expected. The mighty queen of the Zephyrians, ruler of dozens of star systems, dropped to one knee and bowed her great head toward Jake. The entire throne room fell silent. Every Zephyrian in the room gasped at the same time, and many of them also began to kneel. Jake stood frozen in shock. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Captain Brooks looked just as confused as he felt. Commander Bell's hand moved toward his weapon before he stopped himself. Dr. Park was frantically taking notes on her tablet. Queen Vexithara spoke in a voice filled with wonder and respect. "The promised one has come at last. The ancient prophecies. Speak truly. You carry the mark of the architects, young human. I bow before the inheritor of stars." Her massive form remained kneeling as she spoke these strange words. Jake finally found his voice. "Your Majesty, I think there's been some mistake. I'm just a scientist. I don't know anything about prophecies or architects. Please stand up. You shouldn't be kneeling to me." But Queen Vexithara would not rise. "There is no mistake, promised one. We have waited 50,000 years for your kind to find us. The time of awakening has begun." 3 days had passed since Queen Vexithera knelt before Jake, and he still couldn't understand why it happened. The Zephyrians had given the human delegation the finest rooms in the royal palace, but Jake felt like a prisoner in a golden cage. Every time he left his room, dozens of Zephyrians would stop whatever they were doing just to stare at him. Some would bow their heads respectfully, while others would whisper to each other in their musical language. Dr. Helen Park had been working day and night with the Zephyrian scholars to find answers. She knocked on Jake's door early in the morning, her eyes bright with excitement despite her tired appearance. "Jake, you need to come with me right now. We found something incredible in their archives." Jake followed her through the twisting corridors of the palace to a section he had never seen before. The walls here were made of black stone, covered with silver symbols that seemed to move when he wasn't looking directly at them. 2 massive Zephyrian guards opened doors that must have weighed several tons each. Beyond the doors lay the most amazing library Jake had ever imagined. The room stretched out so far that he couldn't see the walls, and shelves reached up into darkness above them. But these weren't books on the shelves. Instead, there were thousands of stone tablets, crystal data cores, and metal plates covered, with writing in dozens of different languages. "This is the Deep Archive," Dr. Park explained as they walked between the towering shelves. "It contains knowledge from over 50,000 years of Zephyrian history. Some of these records are older than human civilization. She led him to a table where several ancient stone tablets lay under soft lights. An elderly Zephyrian scholar named Teklan was waiting for them. His scales were pale gray with age, and his 4 hands moved carefully as he handled the ancient tablets. When he saw Jake, he immediately bowed his head in the same respectful way that Queen Vexithara had done. "Honored promised one," Teklan said through his translator device. "These tablets speak of your coming. They were carved by our ancestors long before we had contact with any other worlds." He pointed to symbols on the nearest tablet with one of his long fingers. Dr. Park leaned forward eagerly. "Jake, look at this. This tablet is definitely over 40,000 years old, but it describes humans perfectly. It talks about skywalkers from the third world who would carry the fire of creation in their essence." Jake studied the ancient symbols, though he couldn't read them. How could they know about humans so long ago? We didn't even exist as a species 40,000 years ago. Teklan's scales shifted to a deeper gray, which Jake had learned meant the Zephyrian was thinking seriously. "The tablets do not speak of your species as it was then," promised one. "They speak of what your species would become. The architects knew what they were planning." "Who are these architects everyone keeps mentioning?" Jake asked. This was the third time he had heard that name since arriving on Zephyr Prime. Dr. Park pulled out her tablet and showed Jake some notes she had been taking. "From what I can understand, the architects were some kind of ancient race that existed millions of years ago. They seem to have influenced the development of most intelligent species in this part of the galaxy." Teklan nodded slowly. "The architects were the builders of worlds, the shapers of life. They walked among the stars when the galaxy was young. All the great civilizations were touched by their wisdom." His voice became even more respectful. "But you humans, you are different. You were not touched by them. You were chosen by them." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "What does that mean exactly?" The old scholar moved to another tablet, this one made of a strange blue stone that seemed to glow from within. "This tablet speaks of the Great Design. The architects planned for a race that would grow naturally without their direct help. This race would inherit the tools they left behind and would awaken the sleeping systems they built throughout the galaxy." "What kind of tools?" Dr. Park asked, taking rapid notes. "Machines that can reshape worlds, knowledge beyond imagination, power sources that could light entire star systems," Teklan replied, "all waiting for the natural inheritors to claim them." Jake sat down heavily in one of the study chairs. The HFY furniture automatically adjusted to his human size, another sign of how much the Zephyrians had prepared for his people's arrival. "This is crazy. I'm just a regular person. I study alien plants and animals. I don't know anything about running machines or inheriting galaxies." "But you do know," promised one. Teklan said gently. "You simply have not awakened to that knowledge yet. The architects planted the seeds of understanding in your entire species. When the time comes, you will know what to do." Dr. Park looked up from her notes. "Jake, there's something else. The tablets mention that humans have certain biological traits that make them special. Something about life spark intensity and rapid healing abilities." Jake remembered how interested the Zephyrians had been in his medical scans when they first arrived. They had been particularly fascinated by his blood temperature and his immune system. "What's so special about human biology? You are warm-blooded in a way that no other known species is," Teklan explained. Your bodies burn with an inner fire that can power the architect machines. Your minds work differently too, more creatively, more adaptably. Most species think in patterns. Humans think in possibilities. That afternoon, Jake found himself in another part of the palace, standing before a strange device that hummed with energy. Queen Vexithara had insisted that he undergo what she called the recognition ceremony. The device looked like a tall crystal column surrounded by rings of metal that spun slowly in the air. "Place your hand upon the recognition stone." "Promised one," the queen said. She stood nearby with several of her advisors, all watching Jake, with eager expressions. Jake hesitated. "What will it do to me?" "It will confirm what we already know," Queen Vexithara replied. "That you carry the architect legacy in your very bones. Do not fear. The stone will not harm you. It will only reveal the truth." Slowly, Jake reached out and placed his palm against the smooth crystal surface. The moment his skin touched the stone, it began to glow with warm golden light. The metal rings spun faster, and a sound like distant music filled the air. Jake felt a strange, tingling sensation run up his arm and through his whole body. The crystal grew brighter and brighter, until everyone in the room had to shield their eyes. Then suddenly, it went dark again, leaving only a soft pulse of light where Jake's hand rested. Queen Vexithara's scales shifted to pure white, the color of extreme excitement among her people. "It is confirmed beyond all doubt. The recognition stone has not glowed like that in 50,000 years. You are indeed the inheritor we have waited for." Jake pulled his hand away from the crystal, staring at his palm. For just a moment he thought he could see faint lines of light under his skin, but they faded quickly. "I still don't understand what any of this means." "It means, young human, that your arrival here will change everything," the queen said solemnly. "Already, we have received word that similar recognition stones on other worlds have begun to awaken. The galaxy knows that the promised ones have finally come home." That night, Jake lay in his bed staring up at the ceiling of his guest room. Through his window he could see the 3 moons of Zephyr Prime casting strange shadows across the crystal city. Somewhere out there, ancient machines were waking up because he had touched a stone. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but his dreams were filled with visions of vast underground chambers and machines that stretched beyond the horizon. The emergency message arrived at the UES Discovery just as Jake was having breakfast in the palace dining hall. Captain Brooks read it twice before her face went pale. She found Jake immediately and pulled him aside into a private room where Commander Bell and Dr. Park were already waiting. "Jake, we have a problem," she said, holding up her communication device. "This message is from Ambassador Nicole Chen back on Earth. The entire Galactic Council is in an uproar about what happened. Here. They're demanding that all humans return to Earth immediately and stay there." Jake nearly choked on his food. "What do you mean, stay there? Like forever?" Commander Bell stepped forward, his expression grim. "It gets worse. We've intercepted communications from the Thrakari Empire. They're mobilizing their war fleets and moving them toward human space. The largest military force in the galaxy is treating us like a threat." Dr. Park was studying data on her tablet with worried eyes. "I've been researching other species' historical records since yesterday. Jake, every major civilization in the galaxy has prophecies about humans. Every single one. And they're all terrified of us." "That doesn't make sense," Jake protested. "We're just one small species on one planet. We barely have any spaceships. How could we be a threat to anyone?" Captain Brooks sat down across from him. "That's what I thought too until I started reading these intercepted messages. The Thrakari call us warm-blood destroyers who will unmake the old order. The Luminian Collective has prophecies about solid-form catalysts who will ignite dormant potential. The Crystalline Union speaks of flesh beings who will shatter the eternal patterns. They're all talking about the same thing," Dr. Park added. "Some kind of great change that humans will bring, and apparently they've been trying to prevent it for a very long time." Commander Bell pulled up a star map on the room's display screen. "Look at this. Human exploration has been mysteriously limited for the past century. Equipment failures, navigation errors, funding problems. Things that seemed like bad luck at the time." Jake studied the map. Human territory was tiny compared to the vast empires around them. "You think they've been sabotaging us?" "I think they've been keeping us locked up on Earth like dangerous animals," Bell replied. "And now that we've finally made contact with the Zephyrians, they're panicking." Dr. Park pulled up more data. "I've been comparing our historical records with what the Zephyrians have told me. There are patterns, Jake. Every time humans were about to make a major breakthrough in space technology, something went wrong. The Mars Colony Project, the faster-than-light drive experiments, the deep space exploration program, all of them failed in ways that don't make sense unless someone was interfering." "But why?" Jake asked. "What are they so afraid of?" Before anyone could answer, Queen Vexithara entered the room. Her scales were dark blue, which Jake had learned meant she was deeply concerned about something. "Forgive the interruption, but I must speak with the Promised One immediately. We have received disturbing news from across the galaxy." She activated a holographic display that showed a map of known space. Dozens of points of light were blinking red across multiple star systems. "These are the locations of architect facilities. For millions of years, they have remained dormant and hidden. But since yesterday, when you touched the recognition stone, they have begun to awaken." Jake stared at the map in amazement. All of those places. 57 worlds so far, the Queen confirmed. Ancient machines are stirring to life for the first time since the architects disappeared. The other species are terrified because they know what this means. Captain Brooks leaned forward. "What does it mean?" Queen Vexithara's scales shifted to a mixture of colors that the translator couldn't interpret. "It means the time of preparation is ending. For 50,000 years, the uplifted species have been caretakers of this galaxy, maintaining civilization until the natural inheritors could claim their birthright. We always knew this day would come, but most of us hoped it would not be in our lifetimes." "Uplifted species?" Dr. Park asked. "What do you mean by that?" The Queen was quiet for a long moment. "There is something the Galactic Council has hidden from your people. Every intelligent species in this galaxy, except for humans, was artificially created by the architects. We are all synthetic life forms, designed and built to serve a purpose until the natural evolution could produce the true inheritors." The room fell silent. Jake felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. "You're saying that humans are the only naturally evolved species in the galaxy?" "Yes," promised one. "You are the children the architects were waiting for. We are merely the servants they left behind to prepare for your arrival." Commander Bell stood up abruptly. "That's impossible. We've studied dozens of alien species. You all have natural evolutionary histories." "Manufactured histories," Queen Vexithara corrected gently. "The architects were very thorough. They created entire fossil records, genetic lineages, and cultural Developments to make our artificial origins seem natural, but deep in our most secret archives, we know the truth. Jake's mind was reeling. So when you knelt before me, it wasn't because of some prophecy. It was because you were programmed to do it. The Queen's scales flashed bright white. No, promised one. We were not programmed to worship you. We were programmed to recognize you and to help you when the time came. The respect I show you comes from understanding what you represent. You are evolution perfected, while we are merely clever imitations of life. Dr. Park was frantically taking notes. This explains so much. Why human creativity exceeds other species. Why our technology develops so differently. Why our biology is unique. Your species learns and adapts faster than any other because you are truly alive in a way we cannot be, the Queen explained. We think in the patterns our creators gave us. You think in ways that even the architects could not predict. Suddenly, alarms began sounding throughout the palace. Queen Vexithara's communication device activated, and a Zephyrian voice spoke rapidly in their language. Her scales went completely black. "What is it?" Captain Brooks asked. "The Thrakari fleet has arrived in our system," the Queen said grimly. 300 warships, the largest force they have ever assembled. They are demanding that we surrender all humans to them immediately. Jake looked out the window and could see points of light in the sky that hadn't been there before. Somewhere, up there, an alien armada was waiting to capture him and his friends. "Why do they want us so badly?" Jake asked. Queen Vexithara moved to another display and showed them images of the Awakening Architect facilities. Because every time one of these ancient machines activates, it changes the world around it. Some are terraforming devices that can reshape entire continents. Others are defensive systems more powerful than anything the current civilizations possess, and all of them will only obey humans. The Galactic Council has maintained power for thousands of years by keeping the architect technology dormant, she continued. Your presence threatens to end their rule and give humanity control over tools that could remake the galaxy. Commander, Bell checked his weapons. How long before they attack? They will not attack while you are under our protection, the Queen said firmly. But they will not leave either. They are waiting for reinforcements from other species. Soon the entire galaxy will be united against your people. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Back on Earth, billions of humans had no idea that their entire species was about to become the target of a galactic war. And it was all because of something he had done by touching an ancient stone. Is there any way to stop this? He asked quietly. Queen. Vexithara looked at him with her golden eyes. There is one possibility, promised one, but it would require you to do something that no human has ever done before. You would need to fully awaken your connection to the architect systems and claim your inheritance. What does that mean exactly? It means becoming what you were born to be, she replied. The master of technologies beyond imagination and the leader your species needs to survive what is coming. Lieutenant Kevin Shaw had never been good at staying out of trouble, which was exactly why Commander Bell had chosen him for this mission. While the Thrakari fleet waited in orbit above Zephyr Prime, Kevin was deep underground with a team of Zephyrian intelligence agents breaking into files that were supposed to stay hidden forever. Are you sure about this? Kevin whispered to his Zephyrian partner, a young agent named Hixtal, whose scales kept shifting between green and yellow with nervousness. The archives we need are in the Forbidden Vault, Hixtal replied quietly. If we are caught accessing them, both our peoples could face execution. But if the promised one is to understand the full truth, He must know what the Galactic Council has been hiding. They moved through tunnels carved from living rock, past security systems that were older than human civilization. The Zephyrians had built their capital city on top of ruins left by the architects, and the deepest levels contained secrets that even Queen Vexithara was not supposed to know. Meanwhile, back in the palace, Jake was experiencing the strangest dreams of his life. Even while awake, he kept seeing visions of vast underground chambers filled with machines that hummed with patient energy. In his dreams, he could understand how the machines worked just by looking at them. More disturbing, he could see that they were all connected to each other across the galaxy through some kind of invisible network. Dr. Park found him sitting in the palace garden, staring at nothing. "Jake, are you all right? You look like you haven't slept in days." "I keep seeing things," Jake said slowly. "Machines buried under the ground on dozens of different worlds. And they're all waiting for something. Waiting for me, I think, Queen." "Vexthara says that's normal," Dr. Park replied, sitting beside him on a bench made of crystal that grew from the ground like a plant. "She calls it the awakening dreams. Apparently, all humans experience them when they get close to architect technology." Jake rubbed his temples where a headache was building. "It's not just dreams anymore, Helen. When I'm awake, I can sense things. Like right now, I know there's an architect facility about 2 miles beneath us. It's huge, bigger than the palace above it, and it's been slowly powering up since I arrived here." Dr. Park pulled out her scanner and took readings of Jake's brain activity. "Your neural patterns are definitely changing. The electrical activity in your brain has increased by 30% since we landed here." "Is that dangerous?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but I think it might be necessary. If the Zephyrians are right about what's coming, humanity is going to need every advantage we can get." Deep underground, Kevin and Hickstal finally reached their destination. The Forbidden Vault was a massive chamber filled with crystalline storage devices that contained the most classified information in Zephyrian history. At the center of the room stood a pillar of black stone covered with silver writing that seemed to move when Kevin looked at it. "That is the confession stone," Hickstal explained. "It contains the complete truth about the Galactic Council and their crimes against your species. My grandmother helped hide it here 50 years ago when she learned what the Council had been doing." Kevin approached the stone carefully. "How do we access it?" "Touch it with your bare hand," Hickstal said. "Only a human can activate it. That was how my grandmother designed the security system." The moment Kevin's palm touched the black stone, it began to glow with soft blue light. Images appeared in the air around them, showing scenes from thousands of years of galactic history. What Kevin saw made his blood run cold. The images showed human exploration attempts from the past century, but from the aliens' perspective. Kevin watched in horror as Galactic Council agents sabotaged human ships, caused navigation systems to fail, and even assassinated human scientists who got too close to breakthrough discoveries. "They've been at war with us for over 100 years, Kevin whispered. "And we never even knew it." "It gets worse," Hickstal said grimly. More images appeared, showing council meetings where alien leaders discussed the human problem. "They have been debating whether to destroy your species entirely or keep you trapped on Earth forever. The only thing that stopped them was fear of awakening the architect systems." Kevin saw recordings of failed human colonies, space missions that mysteriously lost contact, and research projects that were shut down for no apparent reason. Every major setback in human space exploration had been carefully orchestrated by the Galactic Council. "Why?" Kevin asked. What did we ever do to them? The stone showed him the answer. Images of architect ruins appeared, along with alien scientists studying the ancient technology. They have been trying to unlock architect secrets for thousands of years, Hickstal explained. But the machines will not respond to synthetic life forms. Only natural evolution can access the true power the architects left behind. So they've been keeping us away from the machines while trying to figure out how to use them themselves. Exactly. But they failed. Every attempt to copy or reverse engineer architect technology has ended in disaster. The machines can detect the difference between natural and artificial intelligence, and they reject any species that was not born through true evolution. The images changed to show more recent events. Kevin saw the moment when Jake touched the recognition stone, and he watched as signals spread across the galaxy, awakening dormant systems on dozens of worlds. "Your friend has triggered something that cannot be stopped," Hickstal said. "The Great Awakening has begun, and now the Council faces their worst nightmare. Humans with access to architect technology would make every other species in the galaxy obsolete." Kevin thought about Jake, probably sitting in the palace above them, having no idea of the massive conspiracy that had shaped his entire species' history. "We have to tell him everything." "First, there is more you must see," Hickstal said. The stone showed them current intelligence reports from across the galaxy. "The Thrakari fleet above us is just the beginning. Every major civilization is mobilizing. Their forces. They are planning to attack Earth itself." Kevin felt sick. "When?" "Soon. They believe that if they can destroy humanity's homeworld and capture the few humans in space, they can prevent the complete awakening of the architect systems." "Will that work?" Hickstal's scales turned dark gray. "No. The awakening cannot be stopped now. But millions of humans will die in the attempt, and the surviving members of your species will spend the rest of their lives as prisoners or slaves." Back in the palace, Jake was walking through the corridors when he suddenly stopped. Every human instinct he possessed was screaming that something was wrong. The air itself seemed to vibrate with tension, and he could hear a low humming sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Queen Vexithera found him standing motionless in the hallway. "What is it, Promised One?" "The machine under the palace," Jake said quietly. "It's not just powering up anymore. It's trying to communicate with me." The Queen's scales went pure white. "That should not be possible. The central nexus has been dormant for millions of years." Central nexus. The heart of the architect network on this world. If it is truly awakening, then the time of preparation is ending faster than we expected. She looked at Jake with a mixture of respect and fear. "What is it trying to tell you?" Jake closed his eyes and concentrated on the humming sensation in his head. Images flashed through his mind. Vast underground factories, weapons that could destroy entire fleets, and terraforming systems that could remake dead worlds into gardens. But more than that, he could sense the purpose behind it all. "It's showing me what the architects really intended," Jake said slowly. "They didn't create all those machines to give humans power over other species. They created them to prepare the galaxy for something much bigger." "What do you mean?" Jake opened his eyes and looked at the Queen. "The architects didn't just disappear. They left. They went somewhere else, somewhere beyond this galaxy. And they built all of this as a test, to see if natural evolution could produce a species worthy of following them." Queen Vexithara's arms trembled slightly. You are saying that humanity's true destiny lies beyond the stars we know? I think so. But first, we have to survive what's coming. And that means I need to fully connect with the Architect Network, even if it changes me into something that's no longer entirely human. The humming in the walls grew stronger, and Jake could feel the ancient machines calling to him from deep beneath the ground. The attack came at dawn. Jake was awakened by the sound of explosions in the sky above the palace as Zephyrian defense systems engaged the Thrakari fleet. Through his window, he could see streams of energy weapons lighting up the purple sky like deadly fireworks. Captain Brooks burst into his room without knocking. "Jake, we need to get you out of here now. The Thrakari have broken through the orbital defenses. They're landing troops all over the city." Jake quickly dressed and followed her through corridors filled with running Zephyrian guards. The palace was shaking from explosions, and pieces of crystal were falling from the ceiling. They made their way to the throne room where Queen Vexathera was coordinating the defense of her city. "Promised One?" she called when she saw Jake. "The situation is desperate. Our forces cannot hold against the combined fleets of 6 different species. You must reach the central nexus before they capture you." Commander Bell and Dr. Park were already there, along with Lieutenant Shaw, who looked like he had been running for hours. "Jake," Kevin said urgently, "I found out the truth about everything. The Galactic Council has been at war with humanity for over a century. They've been sabotaging us, keeping us trapped on Earth because they know we're the only species that can use architect technology." "We can discuss history later," Commander Bell interrupted. "Right now, we need to focus on staying alive. The Thrakari are landing heavy assault troops all around.